So, as medical students, medical residents, fellows in nephrology, we're not really taught the business aspects of nephrology. And I learned all of these business aspects other than by trial and error, and mostly error. I learned how to deal with these issues and what to do from RPA.
From the very beginning, the RPA was involved in capitation models that CMS, then called HCFA, wanted to implement for payment for renal care. The RPA was at the negotiating table for doctors to be included and then paid fairly for that work.
And at that time, I believe it was still HCFA, which is the Healthcare Financing Administration, that took on that charge of developing that process. But again, the components of that, and I think there were 19 or 20 elements that physicians must meet in order to be appropriately reimbursed for their work. And more importantly, they had to provide those elements in order to be documenting, in order to state that they were billing under the MCP.
The RPA established a program with the Duke School of Business to help educate nephrologists about the most important and concrete principles. As nephrologists running many different types of practices, we knew that we would be better at it if we all had more of a business background.
We always came out with the idea the patient's the one with the disease, not the doctor, not the system, but the patient. And how do you maximize care for patients in a cost-effective manner? Cost-effective really meaning, are you doing the right thing for the patient that's appropriate for the entire circumstance?
The Renal Physicians Association developed several different what we called practice guidelines, which were based on the scientific review of the medical literature and a knowledge of how those areas, for example, the treatment of anemia, how that was best done.
The guideline that we developed, which was the first in all of nephrology, dealt with how to determine and provide the adequacy of dialysis. And at that time, there wasn't much that was put together as a standard of care, if you will.
I would say the RPA is a relatively small organization when you compare it against our sister organizations, the American Society of Nephrology and the National Kidney Foundation. But there's a significant advantage of being small. One is you can pivot very rapidly. Two, you can stay under the radar. But three, and most people don't like this analogy, we become the tyranny of the minority. In other words, we actually can drive change in a way that a big organization with their bureaucracies cannot. And let me tell you something, there's a great deal of power in that.
Several of us from the RPA, both volunteers and staff, attended the signing of the executive order, which really did, in many ways, lead to changes in how nephrology care is delivered.
One of the things I think that RPA does really, really well, because again, it's part of our reason for being, for existence. And again, then in turn, its staff and our volunteer membership as well, our leadership, is to be aware of the changes on the horizon that seem to be always creeping in.
And to ensure that we're equipped to innovate in our care models and how we deliver care to really elevate the patient experience and make sure that as few patients as possible ultimately require kidney replacement therapy.
So RPA offers both existing and future members the ability to figure out how to adapt to that changing world of healthcare.